I'm Andre, and today we get to look at probably one of my most memorable aircraft I've flown in a very long time. I'm super excited about V2 of the Excalibur. You can't get past the sound that that Excalibur V1 made. And in front of us right now is V2, and this is going to be a quick unboxing, and the next time I get out flying, I will try and replicate that lovely video from last time. However, it's winter. So I don't know how this is going to turn out, but hey, stay tuned. That video will come out very promptly after this review and a quick unboxing. I don't think I'm going to build the aircraft. Well, I will, but I don't think this is going to be your standard unboxing. But I want to talk about what the Excalibur is. To me, it represented a really nice, sweet blend of like fast, slow, glide, swooping. Watch the flight for the Magic Hour video with the V1, and it's just such a fun plane. It's a 4S 2200 and 1800 to 2200 4S pack, and what you get out of that is this amazing wide envelope aircraft, and now we have V2. So what's so special about V2? And I have my sheet, and there's more inside the box that we'll talk about, but it's basically a quick assembly, 20 minutes they're saying. Super smooth, strong EPO foam, carbon infused prop, lightweight blades for better balancing and everything, high performance, blistering climb, and like it just lets go out of your hand and it flies. It's so much fun. Slope nose adapter and everything, so if you don't want to fly with the prop motor and everything, do some slope soaring. Now, what's new? They've added carbon reinforcements to help with strength and rigidity. Awesome. It was a good airplane. This will make it even better. All metal spinner and prop adapter for greater efficiency and durability. Awesome, because that front end of that airplane, if you fly it right, does take a lot of punishment. It's one of those, if you choose to glide it, or I love doing the power dives with this thing. So power on, power off, and everything. Greater control authority thanks to more powerful metal geared servos throughout. New, more efficient, balanced, and powerful glass and carbon reinforced props. So that's also a nice thing too. But enough of that. It makes such a wonderful sound. Wingspan 1600 millimeters, as you can see by the box. Length is 110 millimeters. That's 40 inches. Weight about 1,300 grams. It's a V-tail configuration, and which is kind of fun. A little bit more work on the radio, but actually I'll have to see if I have my old programming in my radio. Radio spec wise too, I'm just going to fly with a 4-channel FR Sky. What's that? X4R, so that'll go in really nice. If I want to do battery monitoring and telemetry, I suppose I could, but I'm just looking for a good, strong diversity receiver, because this is one of those airplanes you'll be flicking around and having fun and want maximum power. A motor, ESC is a 60 amp ESC. It's an Aerostar. Motor is a 3542 800 kV, so lots of oomph. Carbon fiber prop, as I mentioned before. Batteries. I flew primarily at the time with my 4S 2200s, my Zippies. I do have a Turnigy Graphene 1.8, so 1800 mil 4S, and I now have 2200 what's that, Nanotech, and that's got a bigger punch rate. So we'll see. When I do get out to fly it, I'll probably do 3 or 4 flights depending on the temperature. Move that camera around. Try, like I said, I want to redo in the modern age, because that other video has got to be, what, 2016. It's a couple years old, and take it from there. Okay, enough about the specs. Let's jump into V2 and have a look at some of the stuff. They've changed the color. That's the biggest thing I've noticed already, and it's kind of nice. All right, let's see. I'm going to move this guy over. You can see how it's packed. They do a good job as usual, Durafly. And it's nice, as I said, to see Durafly coming back with models. More to come. There are other airplanes in the mix coming out, so it's good to see that Durafly will be coming back into the market into 2022, which is super important, because help balance out that whole industry as far as value and what Durafly stood for in the first place. So I'm excited. All right, enough of me talking about all that. Let's get into the package. There is a manual. We've gone to the quick sheets from Durafly, which is really nice. That is a nice little piece of paper. It'll tell you all the important stuff. So it tells you all the specs I just blurred out. It tells you where your CG is, all important, and that's 20 millimeters from the leading edge. The root of the wing root. There you go. Leading edge of the wing root. And you can scan and get the full manual for download with a little QR code. So they are getting sophisticated, but this is nice. This is nice to have right off the get-go. Packing wise, all right, let me clear away some of this stuff. So again, a good box, good outer layer. Mine did come with another box inside, so box in a box. So it was taken care of, and it's packed pretty good. I don't see any carnage or anything like that. And if I turn it over, you can see the purple and green. So kind of a new color, nice new scheme. I'm hoping it's the aircraft was pretty easy to track, to be honest, when I flew it last time a couple years ago. Mind you, my eyes were younger too, so who knows? So there's the spinner. See if I can get that focus. Spinner, screwdriver, all the fittings. I do remember the fittings being a little fussy, but in the end I remember just squeezing them with my fingers and it worked versus using a tool because I found the tool as being a little too harsh. This is the wing, one of the wing mounts in the back, I think, for the tail. And let's pull the fuselage out and inspect this bad boy. Oh yeah, I got some foam on the nose and everything. I'd probably whack something there, but look at that. What's pretty cool is the canopy does turn to come out, and all your wiring is in there. There's the big old ESC. Let's see if we can see that. And then V2, Excalibur V2. Like I said, I'm liking the color. It's kind of striking, and it's got the fuselage feels nice as well. It's got, you can tell they've done some work with the back, and it's got a little bit more weight. And it was a good overhand toss kind of aircraft. You know, power it off and let it go. In the case of right hand on race, set the throttle and then launch, and it went pretty good. So I'm looking forward to this. They've changed the motor mount in the front a little bit and everything. Lots of foam bits. Very cool. Canopy again with the lock mechanism. And everything's got labels. So left stab, right stab, throttle, and then ailerons. And that's it. So 4-channel receiver, bury that into the back. There's lots of room back there to get in there and drop the receiver in. And then the wing, ooh, look at that. So they've got a new style. Is that going to show up? Let's see if I can get my ugly mug out of the screen so it focuses. But it's got a different kind of connector on the inside for the wing. I rarely took the wings off my V1. It was just one of those things where the aircraft stayed together. There was less hanger rash and everything. And it's, although at 1600 mil, it's got a bit of a span. It wasn't cumbersome to load and get out of the way of the car. So, all right. Moving along as fast as we can. 2 wing spars, front and back, so that's nice. I think this is the prop. So it is a spinning prop, or a folding prop, sorry. So that's pretty cool. That looks really nice. And it's got, oh my, let's get this out of here. The adapter for the spinner is a nice beefy piece of metal. Look at that. And so that prop is, I think those are 13 by 8s. So that's got some span to it. So be careful. The cone, so if you do want to do a little surfing with it, or a little slope surfing, there you can go. You can fly with that. So that basically you pop off your motor and your nose cone. You probably leave the cone on to get a little bit of weight, but you take the prop off and stick that on. So you get a little bit more aerodynamic efficiency. All right. your two V-tail components with metal servos. They look nice, and that's what this little cap piece is for. And the wings. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm saying I'm digging the purple and green. It kind of you know, it'll look great at Easter, and then black on the bottom, so you do get your differentials, or at least your identification when you're doing some rolls and maneuvers. So both sets of wings, they look nice, they look clean. Like the last one, it's got a good little bit of rigidity into the foam and with all the spars. You probably can see a little bit of that in the line through the light. It's got some hefty spars, and then there's the connector on the end for the servos. Which is pretty cool. So it's just one servo in the wing, and it had a lot of authority, as I recall. I'm checking the box, so there's nothing else. Like I said, very simple aircraft. Foam everywhere. So you've got your linkages with some screws. You've got a couple other 2.3 by 6s. And there's your spinner. There's some aileron controls. 1, 2, 3, 4. An Allen key comes with all that too. So that is pretty cool. Now, what goes where and how, right? So, for the rear tailpiece, you're going to use the 2.3 by 6 screws to lock in the your V-tail stuff. Remember to always exercise the hinges a little tiny bit. I'm noticing there's at least 1 or 2 plastic screws, plastic fittings. So that's pretty nice to see. So, and the tail section's pretty quick and easy to do. I wonder if I can pull that back. I remember this last time. It was like a little bit of give and take, because you need room for the servo. At the same time, you need you know, you don't want to be folding anything over unnecessarily and causing any strain on the wires. There you go. That works. That should do the trick nicely. A little reverse fold over. And in is the first servo. So, and I do use a little piece of tape just to ensure it doesn't come out. Take that piece. Holding it all together. This is when you probably could use a couple extra thumbs. The screws all go into one spot, and then you set about locking it into place, and everything will, there you go, pop in, snap in, and you grab all those nice little 2.3 by 6 screws, and you start seating those in really gently. These are awesome. So a V-tail configuration is pretty simple. It just basically mixes your elevator and your rudder. So, I mean, it's akin to flying a wing, right? So up and down, they move together, and then to give your rudder effect, they invert. So it's just one of those things where you have to sit there in your radio and flick a couple switches back and forth to find out which orientation, because they're always different depending on what servo travel is like and everything. So, but apparently with V2, because they're metal servos and everything, we should get more authority. There are 4 screws on the bottom, 3 screws on the top. I'll just do a little squeeze to seat it in place. Yeah, of course. It's not a video without dropping a screw. So I'm just going to sink these screws in, and I'm going back afterwards, and I'm going to lock them all in a bit of a star crisscross kind of pattern, just to make sure they're all evenly spaced and torqued. And you will have a few extras, so keep those baggies handy, and then store everything. I like to put everything into one bin. And I think this is an aircraft, from experience, that you want to have spare props. I don't remember ever breaking on V1 a prop, but it's always nice to have, because obviously you can run into a case where you might just do some damage on landing. You never know. motor ESC locking. So the motor turns off, and that way the prop parks, yeah, on landing and everything. So that's very handy. Don't have to be too aggressive on these screws either. Just get them in there and make sure they're seated and tight, hand tight, and that's good. All right, almost done the tail section. We'll have to do the linkage and everything, but I gotta get the radio into it, and then I will center all those up as well. And like a good pilot, the Excalibur from way back when was in the radio in the backup. So that's freaking awesome, because that saves me a ton of time as far as setting the radio up and everything. I will go through and talk about my settings, and obviously since that time in my life, I fly a lot differently, a little bit more expo, but definitely seem to like it at medium rates at about 80%. So I will look and see what they are, but having it in my radio is pretty good. That means the VTail configuration should go like that. So about to find out actually. 30% on all my expo, from what I can tell already. Yeah, and then the rates. I don't know what I was doing. Oh, I may have to come back. Actually, that's funny. I think I had this plane just locked in one kind of settings, and that was 100% on the ailerons, which is kind of crazy, and 50% on the elevator. So that's kind of interesting. I might have to go through and bite my words on this one and do a little bit of reconfiguration. And then looks like 30% expo and everything. Yeah, that is funny. Maybe we'll tweak it a little bit. Maybe we'll give it a little bit more subtlety in a few spots. But hey, it's half the battle's there, right? So I'm going to center all my throws and everything on the radio and then go from there. So yeah, up and down, they're moving together, which is what we want. So for my initial setup, I'm going to, there you go, just popped right in nice and clean. I'm going to try and just get that as, as level as possible for the tail section, and then I can tweak and adjust after the fact. You know you're going to have to adjust to move things around and sort them out at the field based on your CG and everything and how the aircraft is behaving. But piece of cake just to do a quick little tweak and tune and everything as you go. It's probably easier after a point to just twist it or tune it in the radio. Up, down, up, down. Nice throws actually. So all I have to do now after I'm done, and I've got them tuned pretty good. That looks like a little bit of a down elevator dialed in, so I may go back and fiddle with it ever so slightly, and then all I need to do is put in the little adapters, and we're done that phase. So on to the wings, and then it'll be the prop, and like I said, it's just throwing the radio. But like luckily enough, I have enough of programming already done on the radio to allow me to speed along. So while I had the opportunity, I did actually go in and dial in a little bit more up elevator on that rear servo set for the V-tail. I found it easier to disconnect the servos versus popping the links. And now all I gotta do is just put in that final little piece, and the back end of it is set up. Again, a little bit up elevator. Once I have the aircraft in the air, obviously I'll be able to feel out and see what it needs and adjust from there. I moved the servos, the servo horns. I moved them upwards just to give myself that little bit of push up as well, because once I dialed those guys in, the actual linkages, they were as far in as they're going without, getting too crazy on the fingertips and everything. So that should be fine as far as resolution. Lots of throw for the rudder. And again, in my radio, I'm only running at 50% control rates and everything. So I'm going to go through, check the manual. It will lay it out exactly what you're looking for in the manual. So one last piece, and then we're on to the ailerons, and then setting up the motor, and finito. All right, ailerons are pretty simple. It is 2 sets of spars, obviously. Long ones to the front, short ones to the back. Put them through. Again, this thing is nicely set up in that it's got the new servo connections. One tip I like to do with these things, and you can, is measure them out and then you can center them, but this should go in easy enough. There's number 1. got a good feel to it. I'm really impressed. And again, I'm taking my time. This thing can go together really quick, and the most fiddly part of the entire process is probably getting those tail pieces set up and then programming your radio. It's looking really good. It's I like the colors. I like the colors a lot. That atomic green was fun, but this is a nice shade. It's I'm looking forward to it. I know it's winter. I'm still looking forward to flying this thing. I guess the only thing about the connector is centering up your servos. You kind of have to do it with the radio on. So I'm going to put this on. I'll flip it over afterwards, and then I'll set up the ailerons. That's the word I'm looking for. 2 channels that the servos, not the servos, but the spars will go into, and the whole thing will connect together and be done. And then you just use 4 screws into the wings. Again, you can take it apart for easy transport if you have a small car, I guess, or just want to store it nicer. But I don't think I want to. I think I'll leave it whole in one piece. Again, there's a nice, the wing joining area is really nice. And then the tabs in the front and back. And then you just kind of very gently slide it into position. No fuss, no muss. There's no need to really put a lot of strain into it. And then the rear servo, not the rear servo, the rear spar push back a bit. And then that one can go in. Don't need to go too far, obviously. Obviously the channel is quite deep. So I've just got that there. That should be about right. I wonder if I can see that. Problem when you get a big wingspan aircraft, it gets a little harder to swing it around. I don't quite know where this guy ended. I think you probably can see it just ever so lightly through some of the wing spar pieces. But I like that connector. That connector makes it really easy. And then the screws are in the bag, and they're little 2.5 by 6 screws. So pretty simple to set up. Align that spar, give it a little bit of guidance, and then seat it in. Don't have to fight it. Nice thing with the nose, it's nice and solid. There you go. Popped into its channel really nicely. And then I like these plastic tabs, and then the brass fittings make it really easy to align. And just make sure you're all in position. They sit in there. Oh, this thing is getting so nice looking. I'm really impressed with some of the changes that have come about to this aircraft. Okay, I'm going to put in those 4 screws. You'll need a 2.5 mil Allen key or hex key to lock those in, and then after that it's simply setting up the ailerons, checking out the power system, and the Excalibur V2 is ready to go. Jeez, I'm excited. I'm excited to go flying. This is a really good thing. And again, they're going into metal fittings, brass fittings, so probably something you want to check after a couple flights, but the fact that they're accessible, that's nice. And like I said, if you want to take the wings off, you can, maybe for a long distance trip or something like that, so you reduce the hanger rash, as they call it, on the aircraft. There's a pretty good cavity back here, and I think, no, there's no vent. Well, there's vents coming out the back, so if you want to get real fancy with your antennas, you probably can try and eke those back towards the rear vent. The ESC is up the front, so you don't really have to worry about too much interference from that point of view. But it is nice to try and walk that receiver all the way back there, because you get all those connections out of the way. And of course, everything is in the way, so I can't see what I'm trying to push past. But you can do it with a little bit of patience. There you go. There it's in. It's in. It's out of the way. My finger's stuck. Try and get the... I hit one little antenna bit there. Sweet. Awesome. That went in really well. And again, I'm going to play with the CG on the wing 20 millimeters, and we'll go over that very shortly. Now, for now, I'm going to line up those aileron control rods and get that all into play. I love these battery straps from Durafly. They work really well in retaining those batteries and just even catching a little bit of the battery ever so slightly enough to, you know, make it work. And the Velcro is on both sides, so it doesn't matter which way you lock it in. So again, I'm just using the power to power up the aircraft. Oh, and the brake is engaged from factory. There, that's off. Cool. And then my aileron check. I hear both of them. I don't know if I'm inverted, but that's a piece of cake in the remote. So for this, I'm going to flip this thing upside down. Yeah, I'm moving it all over the place because I got lights and all that. So you're hooking these on, again, onto the furthest post, and that is to give you the maximum amount of throws, and that'll keep everything happy. All right, so same deal as the ailerons. The elevator setup. I'm just tuning it in just a turn or two, and the idea is to pull the aileron control surfaces all in line with the wing itself as my initial base. Oh, and remember to give those ailerons a good little movement back and forth. And like I said, I learned from my previous experience I have a tool for punching these guys on, and I found I did more damage to the actual, you know, clevis and everything, or whatever, the horn itself, versus just trying to pressure it on with my fingers. It hurts sometimes though, like a son of a gun, but you know, it's probably easier to do it that way than to damage the plastic itself. Pop! See? A little bit of carnage, but you know, nothing crazy. Right, left, up, down, and then left and right rudder. That is sweet. Really all we have left to do is disconnect the power, put the prop on, test it all out, check my CG, which again is 20 millimeters off the leading edge. I'll show you that real quick in a second. And we've got an Excalibur. Program up your radio, follow those instructions, and woo! So we're close. Nice aluminum spinner that's going to go on, simply because when I would do my CG, I want to see where my weight is and everything. This is a big change from the previous one. The previous one had a black plastic setup, which worked, but if you had any carnage, there was very little left of it. All right, nice, satisfying clunk sound. It's got a nice bolt and washer, or nut and washer, and the prop goes on, and don't think there's any indication. Obviously, well, the numbers pointing forward, and when I ran up that motor, you could hear that the engine braking, or the prop braking system, was already set up. And the nut on the actual prop adapter is a 10 mil. This is nice too, because you can actually use a proper bench tool or proper screwdriver to lock that down. I don't think it needs to be too insanely tight, but tight enough that it's not going to come off with all the torque, because you'll be putting a lot of stuff through this motor. And then the prop adapter spinner goes on, nice and clean. I try and move this plane around, but I've noticed I've already been whacking all my microphone stands and light stands because it is a big wingspan. Again, a 2.5 millimeter hex. Spin that guy on. And I'm just looking over all the quick setup sheets. It does tell you right away in the sheets, it does talk about all the throws. So your elevator is 5 to 8 millimeters, 5 being your low rate, 8 being your high. Your rudder is 12 to 7, so 7 low, 12 high. And your ailerons, low is 8, high is 15 millimeters. So if you do want to set it up, I've started, like I said, doing like a 65, 85, and 100 as far as my rates go. And I've just been flying on 30% expo now for the last couple of years. And that seems to really work out. All right, so we now have the motor on, the prop on, sorry. And the next step will be to very quickly get the root, which is shown for the wing, 20 millimeters, which is shown in the manual, which is like flopping over. We'll do that really quick. We'll try the CG. I'll use an 18, and then I'll probably do my 22 as well and just mark it. From the root, it's 20 millimeters, so that is right at, well, you have all the plastic across the front to tell you. And then, like I said, it's 20 millimeters and 20. And then I'm going to use a straight edge. And I'm going to go out and you'll see. There. Cool. Yeah, so it's just ahead of, or just behind one of the spar lines, which is pretty cool. I'll put some stickers over those and they'll be done. But essentially, flipping this thing around again, coming off the root, right off the side, you got the plastic as a reference, and I just used my squarer and I came out. And now, I don't have the canopy on, but I don't really worry about that. So it's just behind that main spar, that forward spar, and that's not bad at all. I bet with the canopy on, it'll be even cooler. Inside the canopy, or inside the fuselage, you'll see some foam indentations. Those are basically what I'm going to use as my reference for my CG for the battery. Get that battery forward, and it seemed to be working out pretty good. I'm going to put the canopy on. Okay, now that battery is far forward as I think is possible. That is snazzy. That is sweet. So put it right up to those 2 points I showed you, push it in and lock it in place. And that is not bad at all. That's just sitting on my fingers, very well balanced, feels good. Everything's neutral. I've got a tiny bit of up elevator on those back elevator sections on the V-tail, which you kind of want. And like I said, when I was doing my videos last with V1, it was just a nice overhand toss. You probably get underhand if you want to, but I find I want to keep my fingers away from that really big 13-inch prop. That's got some punch. I'm Andre, and this is the 1600mm Durafly Excalibur V2. Check out the quick sheet reference for everything that you need to learn about it. There's a QR code at the bottom for the full manual, but it is a 4-channel aircraft, so you can set up your ailerons, your V-tail, and that real punchy ESC motor combination. You're going to need a 4S 1800 to 2200 milliamp battery to enjoy this beast. 20mm CG setup, and as I showed you, it's pretty bang on with that battery forward. Try multiple packs on it, which is what I will do when I get out flying with it. V2 features a whole new setup of more strengthening, more carbon fiber rods throughout the foam and everything to make it more rigid. It has a brand new spinner setup, which I showed you, and motor mount and more efficient prop and everything. So the refinements are really nice. Metal gear servos throughout with more range movement. So check out the manual. I'm going to go in and reprogram my radio so I have everything just perfect for when I get this thing out to fly. For now, check out the videos from last year, from V1. This was called the Magic Hour flight with the Excalibur V1. And stay tuned for the maiden flight with the Excalibur V2. I'm Andre from Durafly Excalibur V2. Thanks for watching. And boy, does this thing go. I'm really enjoying it.